Researchers have been studying for over 60 years the reasons that led us to respond positively to someone's request. There is no doubt that the science behind persuasion techniques and methods owes much to Robert Cialdini, an American psychologist and researcher who worked at 6 major universities. In 1984, he wrote a book called Influence of the Psychology of Persuasion, in which he described 6 principles of persuasion. He conducted numerous experiments to discover these principles. In this video, you will learn 6 ways of persuasion that will significantly increase your ability to persuade people and influence their behavior, all in an honest way. These secrets of the psychology of influence are used everywhere, from simple communication to advertising and business. Check this video till the end not to miss anything. The first principle of persuasion is reciprocity. People respond in kind to the attention or service they have received. If a friend invited you to a party, you should invite them to your home in return. If a colleague has been kind to you, you should repay the favor when the opportunity arises. People are more likely to say yes to those they owe something to, and the principle of reciprocity applies in restaurants and cafes as well. For example, the last time you had lunch, it's quite likely that the waiter or waitress brought you a small treat, such as a surprise cookie or mint candy along with the bill. This raises the question of, does this treat have any impact on the size of the tip you leave? In a study, offering a candy at the end of the meal increased tips by 3%. Interestingly, if the treat is doubled and you are offered 2 candies, the tip increases not 2 times but 4 times, up to 14%. But the result gets even more interesting when the waiter gives you 1 candy, walks away from the table, stops, and says that he has another candy for such pleasant customers like you. Tips increase by a whopping 23%. Reacting only to how treats were presented. If someone helps you, you will feel obligated to them. The desire to help others to survive as a species is encoded in us on a genetic level. The main secret is to be the first to offer a pleasant and unexpected service. Give something to someone before asking for a return service, and they will provide it to you to repay the debt. When you give someone a gift just because they gave you something a month ago, it's the principle of mutual exchange in everyday life. You can use the desire for mutual exchange in your favor by offering small gestures of help to others, giving yourself the opportunity to ask for their help in the future. And further experiments show that the exchange doesn't have to be equal. The persuasion principle based on rarity of people strive to acquire rare things. In 2003, British Airways announced the cancellation of 2 flights per day on the London to New York route. The next day, there was a surge in ticket sales, despite no actual changes to the flights themselves. The plane did not fly faster, the quality of service did not improve, and the ticket prices did not decrease. The only change was that the opportunity to use the service suddenly became scarce, resulting in increased demand. Therefore, the technique of using scarcity for persuasion was employed. It is clear that it is not enough to simply tell people about the benefits they will receive by choosing your product or service. It is also necessary to emphasize the unique opportunities of your offer and to tell people what they will lose if they do not take advantage of it. The third rule of persuasion is based on the authority of meaning, that people trust authority figures. These include experts, scientists, doctors, and political leaders. This method of decision-making seems rational. We rarely have the time to independently analyze complex issues. For example, doctors can better convince patients by displaying their medical diplomas and certificates on the walls of their offices. Similarly, you are more likely to move your car at the request of a stranger in uniform rather than someone in ordinary clothes. It is important to let people know that your knowledge and experience are worthy of trust before attempting to persuade them. Of course, this is not always easy. You will not walk around potential customers praising yourself. However, you can undoubtedly arrange for someone else to do it for you. Here, science makes an unexpected conclusion. If other people speak well of you, it raises your authority. One real estate company was able to increase the number of orders by advising consultants to start the conversation by mentioning the experience and achievements of the company's agents. For example, in response to a client's inquiry, the answer was something like, "Let me connect you with Lena, who's been dealing with rental issues for clients interested in property sales for over 15 years. They attracted attention with the advice, "It's better for you to talk to Oleg, is the head of our real estate sales department and has over 20 years of experience in this field." As a result, the number of consultations increased by 20%. Not bad for such a harmless persuasion technique. The next principle of persuasion is consistency. People like to be consistent in both their words and actions. To achieve consistency in behavior, one must come up with a small first action and propose it to people to do. In one experiment, residents were asked to place an unattractive wooden sign in front of their homes that read "Caution of Vehicles." There were few who agreed to do so, but in another area, almost 4 times as many homeowners agreed to put up the same sign. Why? Because 10 days earlier, they had placed a small sign on their windowsill that read "Support the same company." This card became the first step that led to a fourfold effect in performing a second, more difficult action. How does the sequential behavior principle work? If you promise something, you are highly valued in society, and you must do it. People who take on commitments are inclined to agree to demands that correspond to them, even when it contradicts their interests. That is why publicly taken and even better recorded commitments are so effective. Those who publicly announced plans to run 3 kilometers every day continued training longer than those who promised themselves but didn't tell anyone. The fifth method of persuasion is based on sympathy. People are more likely to say yes to those they like, but for what reason one person likes another? The theory of persuasion says there are 3 main factors that we like people who are like us, we love those who praise us, and we sympathize with people with whom we share a common cause. In a series of studies, students from 2 business schools participated. One group of students received the instruction that time is money, so get to the point right away. About 50% of the participants in this group came to an agreement. The second group was given different instructions before starting negotiations. Try to get to know each other better and find something in common. After that, 90% of the negotiations were successful, which is 18% more for each side. To use the method of sympathy as a persuasion technique, it is necessary to find something in common with people. Try to express sincere praise before moving on to important issues. The last principle of persuasion is social proof. People tend to rely on the actions and behavior of others when they themselves are uncertain. You may have noticed that laughter tracks are included in comedy shows. Research has shown that if there is background laughter in the material, people perceive it as funnier. This study has been repeated many times with the same result. We also laugh more when others are laughing, and we tend to rely on the opinions of others, which helps us figure out what to believe and how to act. Cialdini calls this principle social proof. The principle works particularly well in situations where people are unsure how to proceed, such as choosing a TV. When people are unsure, they often turn to the opinions of the majority. The principle also works very well if people see others who are similar to them. For example, a tired housewife who believes in the advertisement for laundry detergent, where the same mother easily washes white clothes for her children. This method of psychological persuasion suggests that instead of relying on one's own persuasive abilities, one can focus on how the majority behaves, especially that majority to which everyone can easily relate. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and leave your comment. See you next time, friends.